You are a bush pilot over the Sierra Madre, and the Mexican military's radar net is 90 seconds away. You are flying a 1978 Cessna Centurion with the lights off and the transponder pulled. The cabin smells like high-octane fuel and sweat. Below you, the mountains are jagged teeth waiting to bite through the thin aluminum of your fuselage. You are skimming the treetops, flying so low that the forest floor is a green blur in your peripheral vision. If you pull up to avoid the ridge, you hit the radar. If you stay low, you hit the granite. You are holding the yoke with white knuckles, listening to the engine cough once, then twice. The alternator light flickers, a dying ember in a dark cockpit. You aren't flying a plane, you're flying a target. This is a story about the altitude where your soul becomes a line item. Aviation is not about the sky, it's about the logbook. You grew up in a port city, watching planes disappear into the horizon while you calculated the cost of a flight hour. You spent 5 years grinding for a commercial license, accumulating $120,000 in debt to learn how to fly regional jets for $45,000 a year. The system is a machine of FAA inspections, maintenance cycles, and bureaucratic gravity. You have a routine: pre-flight checks, weather briefings, and 14-hour days in a cockpit that feels like a coffin with a view. You are good at the boring details. You know which airfields have loose security and which weather patterns provide the best cover for a diversion. You understand the logistics of point A to point B, when point B is a place nobody wants to go. You are the person who turns a felony into a flight plan. The first crack in the routine appears on a rainy Tuesday in a hangar in Arizona. Your flight school has just filed for bankruptcy, and your license is on the verge of being suspended for a medical waiver you forgot to file. The bank calls 3 times a day. The payments on your life are due, and the account is empty. That is when you meet Sterling's logistics manager. He is wearing a polo shirt and a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. He finds you at a diner off the interstate, sitting in a booth at the back. He doesn't look like a criminal. He looks like a consultant. He knows about the $120,000 in debt. He knows about the medical waiver. He knows that your daughter needs tuition and your wife's medical bills are stacking up on the kitchen table. He slides a cheap plastic burner phone and a set of keys across the table. The keys belong to a Beechcraft King Air parked in a private hangar with the tail number already scrubbed. "We have farming tools that need a fast delivery," he says. It is an institutional lie. He offers you $50,000 for a single trip to a dirt strip in Sinaloa. Refusing means losing your house, your career, and your future. It is a rational trade: 6 hours of flying for 3 years of salary. You accept. You get to work. You become a magician of the flight path. You learn how to land on grass strips in the pitch black using only the glow of 2 idling trucks as your runway. You become an expert in dead reckoning, flying by landmarks because GPS is a trail the feds can follow. You learn that the real game isn't about the cargo. It's about the paperwork. You learn the most important acronym of your new life: EUC. The End User Certificate. This piece of paper tells the world your cargo is for the National Police, while the plane diverts to a jungle clearing. Your trust within the organization skyrockets. You are given the big stuff: modified planes with extra fuel bladders and reinforced floors. You get the perks: a gold watch, a condo in Mazatlan, and the respect of men who used to ignore you. You are now the rainmaker. You bring the product, and the product brings the power. You buy your mother a new house. She doesn't ask where the money comes from. She just cries and hugs you. You tell yourself you are a logistics worker with clean hands. You get good at it. That is the first mistake. The environment pushes back. A new DEA task force starts monitoring the specific mountain passes you use. During a run in November, a drone appears 500 feet above you. It doesn't engage. It just watches with an unblinking electronic eye. You respond strategically. You don't panic. You drop 200 feet, dive into a canyon, and pull a maneuver that would rip the wings off a less maintained aircraft. You make the delivery, but your co-pilot, a kid who talked too much on his cell phone, is gone by the time you land for refuel. The organization calls it a logistical adjustment. You understand the implication. The cost is a silence that rings louder than the engines. You start carrying a gun under your seat. You notice a pattern. Every time the DEA almost catches you, you are tipped off by a coded message on a frequency that shouldn't exist. When you needed parts for a Pratt & Whitney engine that were out of stock globally, they appeared on your doorstep in 24 hours. They were delivered by a government-contracted courier. Suspicion plants itself. Who benefits from you winning? It's not just the cartel. It's the manufacturers, the fuel suppliers, and the agents who need a success to justify their next budget. You are winning because they are letting you play. You are a feature of the system, not a bug. You are now the chief pilot for the regional plaza. You have more status than any bush pilot in history. You also have a shorter leash. You have $2.1 million in a Panamanian account, but you can only access the funds through a terminal in a safe house. You are guarded by men with AK-47s who call you brother, but never let you walk to your car alone. Your sleep is a series of short bursts between weather reports and satellite pings. You are serving a life sentence in a cockpit, managing a $200 million annual distribution network. The number that haunts you is 12. The number of pilots who held your job before you. None of them retired to a beach. 6 are in Supermax, 3 are in the ground, and 3 simply evaporated. The two-front squeeze begins. From the north, the feds have identified your King Air and issued a red notice. From the south, a rival cartel has placed a bounty on every pilot flying for Sinaloa. There is no safe move. If you fly, you're a target for a sidewinder or a rival's sabotage. If you don't fly, you're a liability for the plaza boss who doesn't accept excuses. Your girlfriend finds a second passport and $500,000 in diamonds under your bed. She doesn't scream. She just leaves a note on the table. I love who you were. I can't watch who you're becoming. The silence in your house becomes heavy, a physical weight that air pressure can't fix. The third problem arrives. The plaza boss wants you to fly a priority shipment during a hurricane. It is a suicide mission. The wind is sheer, the visibility is zero, and the cargo is sensitive. You access the final flight logs on the encrypted server and realize the truth. The hurricane run isn't a delivery. It's an insurance claim. The organization has overinsured the plane and the medical supplies inside. They don't want you to land. They want you to disappear in the storm to trigger a payout and distract the feds from a massive sea-bound shipment moving through the Gulf. The tip-offs from the government frequency were engineered by Sterling himself. He wasn't protecting you. He was grooming you for this final, disposable act. You were never the pilot. You were the autopilot for their risk management. You do the math. The cartel saves $15 million by losing you. The DEA gets to report a crashed smuggler to the press. If you refuse to fly, they send the enforcers to the house in Querétaro where your mother lives. If you fly and survive, the feds seize the Panamanian account. If you fly and die, the cartel pays your family hush money through a shell company in Wyoming. It is a courtroom-clear equation. Your death is more profitable than your life. You are on the tarmac. The wind is screaming at 60 knots, ripping at the tie-downs. The plaza boss is watching from a black SUV with tinted windows. You climb into the cockpit of the King Air. You see the cargo, heavy crates that are likely filled with sand and lead instead of product. You start the engines. The turbines whine, and the mechanicals scream in the dark. Short sentences, high RPM. You taxi into the storm. You have exactly 1 gallon of fuel more than you need for a one-way trip to the middle of the Pacific. You look at the photo of your son in your pocket, the one from the park where you were still a logistics worker. You pull back on the yoke. You climb into the heart of the hurricane. At 10,000 feet, you reach for the fire suppression handle. You don't pull it. You just sit in the silence of a dead engine and the whistling wind. You close your eyes and listen to the ocean calling from below. The plane is never found. The cartel collects the insurance. The DEA closes the file with a stamp of success. In a small town in Oregon, a woman receives an anonymous envelope with $10,000 in cash every month. She thinks it's a pension from an export firm that went bust. She watches her son play in the garden, unaware that the fence was built with blood money and the absence of a father. The sky doesn't remember names.